Today, the People Not Titles podcast sits down with Jason Finn, VP of Lending at Key Mortgage Services. We're going to hear him go from consultant to beginning broker and then top producer and then shifting at the top of his game to become one of Chicagoland's greatest mortgage consultants. Jason Finn coming right up. Well, hello, this is Steve Kaempf with the People Not Titles podcast, and today I am with a person that I admire a ton, Jason Finn, who's the Vice President of Lending for Key Mortgage. Jason, welcome to the podcast.
Thanks, Steve. Thanks for having me, and very kind of you to say.
Yeah, no, it's sincere. So, Jason, I want to get into, you're an interesting guy in the sense of that I was thinking this morning how there are about 5 different reasons alone, if I covered it separately, that I would want to have you on the podcast. And so I'd like to touch on all those and how that kind of brings you to the person that you are today and the value that you bring to your clients. So first off, you were in consulting before you got into real estate altogether.
I was a consultant for 10 years.
Okay, and what were you consulting?
So I did a lot of work in the financial services industry and in the pharmaceutical industry, and I was a technologist. I was a data and analytics geek, a data warehousing guy.
Okay.
So, and I traveled all the time.
Okay, and was that the motivator for you to get into real estate?
It was a big part of it. I moved to Chicago, and then for 10 years I was never in Chicago.
Okay.
And I said, what is it that would require me to physically be here? And real estate made a lot of sense in that context.
Okay, and what brought you to Chicago to begin with?
That's a good question. I've been asked that in a long time.
Okay.
Growing up, I grew up in the Detroit area.
Yep.
When I was graduating from school, there seemed to be more employment opportunities in Chicago and in New York. Those are the 2 cities I kind of considered. Mm-hmm. And I have a very close uncle who lived in Chicago, and I used to come to Chicago every summer and loved it.
Okay.
And so that was the logical choice.
Yeah, Chicago is, I've done a lot of business in Michigan. It's very similar to Michigan, maybe just a little bit bigger, a little bit, but same kind of Midwest vibe,
Yeah.
Same kind of ethics, all those kind of things. Okay, and so when you're picking your real estate company, what were the criteria for you?
Yeah, so I started out as a real estate agent,
Yep.
When we called them agents and salespeople back then before
Yep.
the broker tag. And one was I wanted it to be close to home.
Yep.
So I lived in Lincoln Park, and I went and talked to 3 or 4 different brokerages, and I was a consultant. So by my very nature, in my head, I needed to be able to comfortably present with folks and wanted to be a consultant to them.
Yep.
And so I knew I needed training, and I needed to get going as quickly as humanly possible. And Baird Warner offered that opportunity with, and it'll sound like a sales pitch, but it was truly what drove me. It was the
Yeah.
non-competing managing broker.
Mm-hmm.
It was dedicated training in the office, and it
Mm-hmm.
was a company-wide commitment to education and training.
Okay, and so you joined the Lincoln Park office?
I did.
And was David Bailey there at the time?
No, there was another managing broker there at the time, and she was getting ready to retire.
Okay.
John Matthews was actually my managing broker
Good
after
old
that.
John. Yep.
We had, after John took over some other responsibilities, we had another managing broker who moved out of state. So that's when David came in as the managing broker.
And as a consultant, if you were a consultant for 10 years, you were established. You were probably comfortable. You were recognized as a professional. And so, what was it like to start over?
It was really eye-opening,
Mm-hmm.
and it was a little bit of a hit to the ego.
Yeah.
Because as a consultant, we charged a lot of money, and I didn't necessarily get paid all of it, but my company charged a lot of money by the hour for what I was doing.
Mm-hmm.
And it would be very rare for somebody not to show up for a meeting.
Mm-hmm.
As a brand new real estate agent, if I was meeting some folks maybe looking for an apartment to rent or looking for a home to buy for the first time, I was meeting people that I didn't know, and it was not uncommon to get stood up, or they wouldn't show up for a phone call or something like that, and it was really eye-opening. I just sort of expected if I was going to be somewhere, the people I was meeting were going to be there and just ready to listen, which is not how the world works.
Right, and I imagine as a consultant, a lot of your day was booked or planned.
Yeah.
And so here you go now, you're in real estate, and if you don't set up anything, there's nothing to do.
Yeah.
Was that a difficult transition for you?
It was. I think I learned some lessons early, and some credit to the brokers that I worked with, some credit to some of the training I had early on. But I really tried to create a structure, even if it was a false one. So I had a calendar. I think I used Google Calendar even back then, and I made a templated calendar in light gray, so I knew I could write over those appointments if I needed to. Of I'm going to be making phone calls from this time to this time. I'm going to be checking email at this time. I'm going to be planning for open houses that I'm going to host for others at this time. And so I did build some structure, even if it was artificial, into my day to make sure I kind of stayed on task.
And then eventually you feel, one of the biggest things for salespeople is, what do I do when I have nothing to do? And you seem to get ahead of that. And then eventually, so when did you feel like, starting as a real estate broker, when did you feel like, I think I'm actually going to be in this for a while? How long did it take you to get to the point of wondering, to the point of pretty sure that you're going to be hitting your stride?
So I was very fortunate, having come from consulting, and then I had saved some money. I was very fortunate in that my wife was working in a more traditional job.
So you had some stability there.
Some stability and health insurance.
Okay.
And so I had a little bit more time than a lot of people have the luxury of to make that decision. And I started in 2006 is when I got my my license as an agent. 2007, 8, and 9 were a little bit of a tough time to build a business.
Watch The Big Short if you want a quick history lesson on
exactly.
that.
And so I was sort of dividing my time actually between selling real estate and playing poker.
Okay.
And at the time, I was making some money playing poker.
Okay.
And so I really, in my mind, when I set out to do something, I'm going to do it. And so I was committed, I think, from the very start to being a successful real estate agent. But it probably took me 3 or 4 years before I said, okay, I'm going to make a living where I can focus on this business as a business.
I like that mindset, which is, I'm not going to see how it goes.
Yeah.
And sometimes when you're beginning and you haven't had success in your career beforehand, you're really not sure what success looks like, really not sure if you're gaining ground or losing ground, or if you're on your way. But it seems to me like you were able to determine the steps along the way and the mileposts to say, okay, small victories, maybe I'm not making a full living here, and then all of a sudden, boom, 3 to 4 years you're in. And eventually you became a top producer.
Yeah.
And was there any magic to it, or was it just time and effort kind of building to the point where you now are over that hump?
Yeah, I don't know if I have some revisionist history.
Okay.
But there's definitely some things that I know now that I wish I knew then.
Sure.
But I think that there really was a commitment to, I knew some of the things that I needed to do to be successful. There were some things that were brand new to me. I never saw myself as a quote-unquote salesperson.
Sure.
And a lot of people don't like that label. It took me many years to say, oh yeah, I guess in some respect I am a salesperson.
Yes.
So there were certain things that I could have done much better and much more consistently to have, I think, more success and sooner. But I also, I'm a people person. The networking aspect of it, the following up with folks, the putting myself out there at an open house and shaking hands and having conversations I wasn't shy about. And I think it was just kind of a lot of little things done consistently that helped me build that business.
Yeah, and I want to note that most real estate agents who begin fail. Let's start there. Secondly, a lot of them, I think the average income is much lower than $50,000 for the average broker.
Yeah.
Many don't do. I think the number is you are established broker when you're doing at least 4 listings a year, which seems to me like not a lot.
Yeah.
But you know that if you don't have 1 listing, 4 sounds like a monumental.
Yeah.
And so and you came from a different area. So I would just say I can understand how difficult all of that was. And you're to be congratulated and recognized just even for that feat of being a top producer, recognized at Baird & Warner. And so most people at that time, you went from one career to another career. You've achieved success twice now. You're like, okay, I'm good. I don't need to retest myself.
Right.
And so then I remember you as a top broker, well respected amongst your peers, recognized in the office, sought after in terms of mentorship and those kind of things. And then you decide, when I heard that you were going to get into the mortgage business, I'm like, wow, that is really curious. So what kind of drove that decision from brokerage to lending?
Yeah, that one I'm still working on a nice succinct answer to.
Okay.
But you touched on a few things there. One is, I think, a continual desire to be challenged certainly exists within me.
Okay.
When I've gotten to a certain level of accomplishment, let's say in an industry, for whatever reason I've decided it's time to challenge myself and try something new.
Good for you. I admire that.
Thank you. But I am a numbers guy. I mentioned I'm a data and analytics
strategic
geek from back in the day.
Yep.
And so the lending portion of things always made sense to me. I have a friend at another organization who's been really successful in that space. And I saw some of the things that he does consistently and does well, and said, I think I can emulate that and be successful at it. And I saw some things that he was often a referral target for me. I would send my clients to him sometimes for a pre-approval, and I saw some of the things that didn't work for all of my clients because we have different personality styles.
Sure.
And I thought if I stay true to who I am and my personality, that will work for a group of people. And if I do the things that he does well, I think I can have some success there. So there was a challenge in front of me. And then the next question was, is this my highest and best use? Is it responsible to make a move at this point in my career? And I'm not sure how I reconciled all of that necessarily.
Yes.
But I wanted to be the sort of loan originator. I wanted to be the sort of lending partner that an agent wanted to work with. And I thought, what a unique value proposition to be somebody who sold real estate for 15 years, that knows how a real estate agent wants to be communicated with, and knows what their experience and what their reality is, how the timelines work, where things come in and out of the process. And I thought that could really give me something of a leg up.
You know, a lot of people who make that, who are in real estate, they want to hold on to being an agent. They want to do more. They want to keep stacking more and more of the process underneath them, so to speak.
Yeah.
And I thought it was interesting that you decided, I'm going to let go of that.
Yeah.
I'm not going to try to do two things at once. Was that a decision for you to say, because now you have a book of business, you have referral sources, you have a lot of things happening, a lot of things cooking. It's almost like I've built some equity here, but I'm going to release that for something new. Was that a tough decision for you?
It was, to an extent. It's something I've been working on in terms of personal growth over the last 4 or 5 years. Is I use the term editing, is getting rid of things that are slowing me down from sort of the
serving
main drive.
you now. Yeah.
And you know that I also ran a digital marketing agency while I was an agent for a number of years. I have a really hard time of letting things go, and I like to be able to do everything, and I like to maybe demonstrate competence in different areas. And I made a decision, and then I have been continually convincing myself of that decision since, that I really, if I want to be successful at this new thing, at my advanced age, and Steve, you won't believe it, but I'm somewhere between 30 and 70 years old.
Me too.
Maybe right in the middle. And that I really needed to be able to focus if I wanted to start something new at this point in my life.
Yes.
Got a couple of kids who are getting ready to be college students in the coming years.
Yes.
I've got a mortgage. I've got a couple of mortgages. I have some investment property. And so I made what I felt like was a responsible decision, but not necessarily one I was excited about, to really focus on one thing and be successful at it.
Yeah, so the continuing challenging of yourself kind of renews you in some ways, right?
Yeah.
So it reminds me of, the kid that graduates from 8th grade, you're on top of the mountain, and then all of a sudden you're a freshman, you're nobody, you're the dweeb.
Yeah.
And I remember the transition that you made from brokerage to dweeb of mortgage,
Sure.
Respectfully. And it takes a bit of humility to step into a new arena and be the new guy. Was that difficult for you at the age that you did it?
You touched on some primal things there, and I think some of it maybe I'll leave to my therapist.
Yes.
It was tough. It was exciting. It was another strike to the ego, maybe, like when I moved to become a real estate agent. There are agents that I've known for literally for decades at this point, and I thought, they're going to start referring me their business right away.
Yes.
And they didn't.
Yes.
And it didn't occur to me, number one, they have relationships already.
Right.
Number two, they look at me and say, that's a real estate agent.
Yes.
That's not a loan originator. I want somebody who's skilled, experienced, and all of that stuff. And so that was a lot to get over early on.
You had to earn your stripes, so to speak, again.
For sure.
Yeah.
But every time I had even sort of a minor achievement, I really feel like I've had a ton of support in this organization, and I get recognition from people, and I thrive on that. And I think that's something for all of us to remember, that other people thrive on that kind of recognition. And so all of those things gave me little boosts along the way, and continued to sort of propel me forward.
Yeah, and a lot of times when people break away from something they had in the past, or were doing in the past, the editing process you talk about, what you realize is you're not leaving the entire thing behind. You're actually carrying the best element elements of it with you
Absolutely.
to really be valuable into the future. And I think that the cream of Jason Finn started to rise to the top. I've seen that. But now you're at Baird & Warner, and you decide, I'm going to cross over to being a loan officer, a mortgage consultant. You had a bunch of different options to choose from, right? Everyone's willing to hire a person with your kind of expertise, experience, kind of maturity. And so why Key at that time?
I was asked that same question by a couple of people within the organization.
Okay.
One, a fairly senior person on the residential sales side at Baird & Warner, and one, the senior vice president of sales for Key Mortgage. They both said, why Key? And specifically, Jason, you have not been a very good referral partner to Key Mortgage as an agent. Why would you want to come here? And I said some of the answer is baked into that question.
Sure.
And I have to be a little bit careful because now that I've been with Key for a few years, I know there are a lot of really talented loan officers at Key Mortgage.
100%.
But if I were to go back 5 or 6 years, I didn't have that same perception. I didn't feel the same way. Some of that is I didn't know enough of the people, and some of that is I had worked with a couple of folks that weren't a good fit for me in my business. And what I said is, I want to be that target. I want to be the Key Mortgage loan officer.
So you saw a little bit of whether it was real or not, you saw a gap.
Yeah.
And you were like, okay, if there's a gap, I might be able to fill it and be the kind of person that I was looking for.
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly. And then I discovered that some of my colleagues are actually very, very good at what they do.
Absolutely.
And it was less gap than I thought.
Yeah.
But it very much felt like that at the time.
Okay.
And I mentioned I have a good friend who is really successful at another organization. I had an invitation to go over there.
Sure.
But I wanted to stand on my own. I wanted to build my own thing from the ground up. And again, it sounds a little bit like sales, but I feel this genuinely. I really love the Baird & Warner organization.
Yeah.
I've known Steve Baird for 19 years.
Yeah.
I knew his father, who we affectionately called Mr. Baird, John Baird.
Yes.
When he was around and was in the office until I think after his 100th birthday.
Yes.
There are lots of people in the organization: David Bailey, Eric Schwinger, the folks in marketing. There are a lot of people that folks in title for sure. I was getting there.
I know. Saving the best for last.
That's right. Exactly. That I've known for years, that I have a lot of respect for.
Yeah.
And why go somewhere else where you don't know if you're going to have that same element?
Yeah.
And also, why leave what's truly a family organization in the literal sense, but also a little bit in the figurative sense?
Totally.
That feels like home, and it really does.
That's great. So you grew up in the brand and decided, hey, I can support the brand. What a beautiful thing that you could support the brand from a different angle. What specifically, from a kind of a mortgage standpoint, did Key have to offer that you knew that I'm going to have all the tools in my belt that I'm going to need to be able to really serve my people?
Yeah. I'm going to get a little technical and
Let's
little
get
wonky.
technical, yeah.
And some people will fall asleep, I think, during this part.
That's okay.
But there are a few different lending models.
Yep.
And I'm going to put it into sort of 3 verticals. There's a bank or a lending institution.
Sure.
And those folks have their own product. If you walk into a bank and you want a 30-year fixed rate mortgage, they have one option for that. And what a bank does a great job of is they underwrite in-house, and they fund with their own money. The other end of the spectrum is a mortgage broker. Those folks have access to all of the mortgage products. They can go out there and shop and say, yeah, this bank has a good rate, this other bank has a better rate, these folks have a better product.
This product pays me more.
This product pays me more. That can be a little bit problematic.
Yep.
And when their clients, when their borrowers, when their home buyers have a contract to purchase a place, they bundle it all up and they ship it off to that third party, let's call it that third party lender. They lose a lot of control.
Yep.
So they've got the benefit of being able to shop and find some good products, but they don't have control over the process. They don't have access into underwriting in the same way, and they're not funding the loan with their own funds. Key Mortgage is a direct lender, a mortgage bank, a correspondent lender. All of those labels apply, and it has the strength and the power of both of those ends of the spectrum. We have access to a lot of different programs and products. We've got, 12, 14 different down payment assistance programs. We've got dozens of different underlying investors or destination lenders, let's call it, that we can leverage their pricing, we can leverage their product. But we underwrite in-house. The overwhelming majority of the time it's going to be underwritten by one of the underwriters that I know personally. And if I have to drive to their office and walk to their desk and say, hey, what's going on here, I can do that.
Yeah. Show them something that they're not seeing
in
the transaction.
Absolutely. and it's going to be funded with Key Mortgage's funds. And so it's the best of all worlds, and that was really exciting to me to have access to all of those tools, all of those programs, etc., and also be able to do most of that in-house.
Yeah.
I'll add one other little layer for those folks that didn't doze off during the technical part of this.
Captivating, I'm sure. Yeah.
The technical part of the thing, which is that we have access to some other sort of non-traditional, non-conventional loan products that people don't know about, like investment properties. If you've got a 6, 8, 10 unit property, we've got a solution for that. If you've got a non-warrantable condo building, we've got a solution to that. So there are a bunch of other tools, and I won't get any further into those technical details, but that we have access to that we're excited.
You can cover the whole gamut, basically.
Yeah, exactly.
And then there's also the second look, which I'm fascinated by the success of the second look, which is, some people might be sitting there saying, hey, I already have a deal, I have a loan officer, I have a approved loan and all that kind of thing.
Yeah.
But you can come in with a second look. I know you're a first look kind of guy a lot of times.
Yeah.
But the second look, how does that work, and what's the benefits of that?
Yeah, my preference, of course, is always to meet somebody, establish a relationship, have some rapport, and have them know that I'm going to be their mortgage consultant, hopefully for the rest of their life.
Absolutely.
But sometimes they do start somewhere else. They went to their own bank, or maybe they went to the aforementioned mortgage broker because they were lured by the idea they've got a bunch of different products. But ultimately, if they come to Key Mortgage, if they come to me and they say, I've got a pre-approval, but I really want to understand this better. I want to have a better idea of what I can and can't qualify for. I didn't get scenarios from the other lender that I spoke to. It's a really great place to come. Our second look program specifically allows us to give somebody a $250 closing cost credit, or if they should decide to stay with that original lender, we still send them a gift card for $250.
So you get $250 no matter what.
Worst case scenario, you're taking your significant other out for a really nice dinner.
I love it.
But I think the number is like 86% of the time when Key Mortgage gets a shot at a second look, we end up working with that buyer, which is just a crazy statistic.
Yeah.
So I think we have a lot more to offer, and I think a lot of our clients realize the same thing.
And it sounds to me like if they're the first look, they get that benefit right from the get-go.
Absolutely.
They don't have to be the second look to get all the benefits of why they chose you 86% of the times the second time around.
That's right. They can save some time. They can save some stress.
Forget the second look. Yeah, as long as you're the first look.
Yeah.
Okay, Jason. And so we have the reasons that you've chosen Key to represent, but it's not lost on me that the difference a lot of times is the person, you. And here you are, you have consultative approach. You have taken the journey from the very beginning of being a loan officer, so you can identify with a brand new agent that may not have any deals, but just wants to establish a relationship. You have empathy for them. You have you know where they're beginning, and then you also have the understanding of the pace of a top producer. How has that benefited you in just your relationships with agents across the offices?
It's the thing that actually sort of keeps me excited about this role every day. And I think, you mentioned I've had a couple other careers. This is the one I see myself doing for the rest of my life, because there is that relationship aspect, there is that relationship element. When you're selling homes, you've got to work with hundreds of home buyers and sellers over the course of your career. But as a loan originator, you can partner with 20 agents, 25 agents, 30 agents, or for me, I prefer to partner with, let's call it 200 agents.
Sure.
And have those relationships, maintain them, grow them, and it's really cool. It's really exciting.
Yes.
So working with an experienced agent is wonderful because they know that I'm strategic and consultative, as you said, that I'm going to find the best deals for their clients and make them look good. And certainly it's easy to have a really nice, close, tight-knit relationship with a handful.
Hey, thanks for listening to the People Not Titles podcast. We are brought to you by our great sponsors, Land Trust Title Services, your partners for results.
With a handful of people, and if they have 20 or 25 opportunities to share with you every year, then you're in great shape. On the other end of the spectrum, I love being able to sit with a new agent and say, I was exactly where you are once upon a time, and I know what some of the struggles are. And we can talk about the challenge of how do you feel about making cold calls, or are you better suited for open houses, or what are the ways you're going to build your business. And I can also be sort of a coach on the field, if you will, if somebody's negotiating a contract and I want to be able to help them keep more money in their home buyer's pocket. Maybe we can build in some seller credit, some closing costs. What's the maximum percentage we can build in? How do I write this? How do I communicate this with the other agent and still give them confidence that my buyers are going to be there with the money they need at the closing table, even though we're asking them for some money? So there's all kinds of nuance to the business that you really only get by doing it a couple of times, or a couple dozen times, a couple hundred times maybe.
Yes.
And I've had the benefit of having been there. So
That's great.
It's super cool to be able to do both ends of that spectrum. I went to the graduation yesterday of a bunch of new agents who went through Baird & Warner's Achieve training program.
Sure.
And got to shake some hands and take some pictures and stuff like that, and see them achieve something and kind of take that next step in their life, their new career. It's pretty cool.
That's great. Okay, so you carry the Baird & Warner values, right? Integrity, honesty, community, family values, those kind of things. But what's really interesting from the profile of your business, Jason, is that you're not just working with Baird & Warner agents, that those values can extend across multiple brands, right?
Yeah.
And like Land Trust works across multiple brands. You are able to do. How does that work for you?
Yeah, it's a great thing. We have our personal values, we've got our family values, we've got our company values, and they just kind of build on one another. And so those same things that are a true part of what Baird & Warner is as a bigger company, I think all consumers should respect. If they don't, all respect and appreciate that.
Yes.
So I think this year to date, 60 to 62%, I'm going to say, of my business has been with Baird & Warner agents, but the remaining 38 to 40% has been with agents outside of Baird & Warner.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it's really great. And some of those are agents who were once upon a time Baird & Warner agents. Maybe I met them that way.
Right.
A lot of times it's a home buyer that I'm working with who says, I want to introduce you to my agent, but I want to work with you on the lending side. And maybe it's a personal relationship, a referral, an accident.
Right.
They found my blog. We never know. But we can offer, obviously, that same great opportunity regardless of who the agent is.
Okay. A couple of distinctions that I find fascinating as well. Last year you were voted Chicago Agent Social Media Influencer of the Year.
Yeah.
And I think, number one, kudos to you. So, you have your consultant, your broker, but social media is a whole different animal.
Yeah.
And I saw yesterday in the NAR survey of a surprisingly small percentage of agents actually leverage social media to build their business. And so that's number one, you've done a great job of building in your social media, but that is also something that you can bring to an agent who wants to sit down with you and get more than just, but more than just a mortgage person, right?
Yeah, thank you for that. I think the award's very subjective. There are a lot of loan officers who do a great
take it
job.
when you didn't get it, you didn't get it, so you got it.
That's
So,
right.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I've got the plaque sitting on my desk.
Absolutely.
As I mentioned earlier, I had a digital marketing
Yep.
agency, and over the course of the last year, we've been kind of winding down our clients, and actually we're helping a couple of folks still. But I studied marketing in business school. I come from a marketing background. I've helped a lot of organizations inside and out of the real estate industry with their marketing. And it's something that I think is great and that I have some passion for. And the only reason I'm not still doing it is because of what we talked about, because I'm really focused on the lending.
You edited it out.
I edited
Yeah.
it. Yeah, exactly. But I understand how social media works. I know a little bit, maybe a lot, about the algorithms and things like that. I approach it differently in some way, and sometimes I wish I didn't, than 20 and 25-year-olds. I do not presently have a TikTok profile.
Okay.
Little dirty secret.
Oof.
And a lot of people
You're
have said
still here.
it's time to get one. I'm
Yeah.
still here.
All right.
But you want to be where your audience is, for sure.
Absolutely.
And so agents who are newer in the business and maybe earlier in their careers, their audience might all be in TikTok, and maybe that's where they should be. There are other platforms that you and I haven't heard of yet that maybe they should be on also. But I spend a lot of time on Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn. They're all different audiences, and you have to be where the eyeballs are. And it's something that I can help agents with. And I've been really fortunate, even in the last few weeks, I've had a number of agents come to me and say, hey, I'd like to do stuff on my social media, meaning that agent's social media. Can you sit down with me and do a quick video? And I can think of a handful of agents that I've gotten to do that with. And I know where the camera is. I know how the microphone works.
Sure.
And I know the industry. And I think that's a really great benefit. It's a really great way to connect with other people in the industry.
Yeah, that's a great value that you bring, especially many post things but struggle to really build a brand, and you've done that. When you're talking about from that social media standpoint, from your digital tech standpoint, from all that, I was impressed, Jason, how you've always helped others around you. And so there seems to be a abundance mentality with you, that there's enough to go around, and it's okay to share secrets. It's okay to, when you were writing articles, blogs, whatever it was, you were helping your colleagues. And where does that philosophy come from? Is this something intentional, or
Yeah, I kind of get the chills a little bit when you talk about that, and I think it starts with, I'm going to give. There are a lot of people in my life who I think deserve credit for that, but the first person that comes to my mind is my grandfather, who was he was a mason, and he was a Shriner. He helped a lot of young kids who with their hospital expenses and things like that. He was an entrepreneur. He built his own garage construction business. He was a really big influence on my life. And when
he was a giver.
And he was a giver. And when I was really young, he bought a box at the Shrine Circus, which I loved as a kid, and it was me and maybe it was me and my parents and a couple of other family members, and the rest of the box was kids and their families who I had never met before, who I didn't know, and I learned later that they were all maybe benefactors of, they were patients at the Shrine Hospital, things like that, and so that really made a big impact on me, and as an adult, you're absolutely right. I have an abundance mindset. There's plenty to go around. There are people in this world who are struggling for whatever reason. They didn't have the benefit of, in some cases they didn't, of parents and grandparents who talked to me about certain values, about building a business, about balancing a checkbook.
Whatever, right?
Whatever it might be. They didn't have the serious leg up of having parents who were homeowners and grandparents who were homeowners. My grandfather was an investor in real estate. And so I have all of these generational gifts that a lot of people don't have the benefit of. And to not share them, I think, would be tragic. There's
good for you.
There's one organization that I've really put some energy into in the last few years, and I'd love to give them a shout out.
Let's do it.
That's Camp One Step.
Okay.
They're a children's oncology charity. They help send kids with cancer to camp. They have the camp. They host the camp. It's a summer camp. They do stuff in the winter. They do stuff online for kids who maybe during COVID for sure, but for kids who maybe shouldn't be exposed to others at a given point in their recovery. They're an amazing organization. There's lots of great organizations out there, but that's one that I have kind of given more of a focus to it recently.
Okay, and you support it. So when people, when people are doing business with Jason Finn, they get all that, but they are also intrinsically supporting some of these other elements. So if people are like, hey, I want to find someone I really want to vibe with, you're going to be vibing with a giver here. And anyway, so that's great. And it's impressive. I have a lot of different family influences that I'm thinking about as you're talking about your grandpa. And so it just leads me, I have grandchildren now, believe it or not. And it leads me to say, wow, it'd be great for my grandson or granddaughter to be saying 30 years from now, I've watched grandpa and I've been inspired to be a giver too. So you've inspired me there, Jason.
Well, I think you're already doing it. And I think you've got all kinds of legacy for them to follow.
I appreciate that. Let's talk about poker.
Okay.
That's like the place I wanted to get to before we ended, Jason. So when did you start playing poker? And now I know that you were the host of the Windy City Poker Championship.
Yeah, that's right.
In Chicago. And how long has that been running?
So Windy City Poker Championship is a television show that started on Comcast Sportsnet, which became. It had a few different names, became CSN, then it was NBC Sports Chicago, and that show was on the air, I'm going to get it wrong, but I'm going to do it confidently. That show was on the air for 13 years.
Okay.
But it might have been 12, it might have been 15.
Okay.
And that was really fun, and I'm, you know this, I'm a ham, I like to be in front of the camera.
Yes.
I was an improviser, I was a radio DJ at one time in my life.
Okay.
And that was really a lot of fun, and I love the game of poker.
Wow. And so when did you start poker?
I started playing poker. As a kid. I started playing Texas Hold'em and thinking about it competitively in 2003.
Okay.
And I'm going to choose that year because that was the year that, if you've heard this name, Chris Moneymaker won the main event of the World Series of Poker.
Okay.
And the significance of that is that Chris Moneymaker was an accountant from Tennessee who won a seat to play in the World Series of Poker main event, a $10,000 buy-in event, with a $41 entry into an online tournament.
Wow.
He won that tournament. That was what we call a satellite, meaning that the prize of that was an entry into another tournament, and played in the World Series of Poker, won that, and won, I think, $2.5 million.
Wow.
And the cool thing was, before that, almost everybody that won the main event of the World Series of Poker, which is the biggest event in poker every year, was a professional poker player.
Okay.
And he told the world, you don't have to be a professional poker player.
And you were like, ding, 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 I think I can do that.
Exactly. The movie Rounders came out shortly before that. That was an incredible movie.
Absolutely.
That gave accessibility to poker. And then the one more shout out, the World Poker Tour are the first ones that added the whole card camera. So when you're watching people play poker, in the olden days, it was really boring.
Yes.
Most of the time, you
like,
never
what
knew
does he
what
got?
they had.
What do they got?
Yeah. And no offense to Gabe Kaplan, who's a great commentator and also was a great actor, and maybe still is. But it was still boring because you didn't know what the person was doing.
Yes.
You didn't know why they were raising or calling or what they were doing. Were they bluffing? Did they have a big hand? And a lot of the times, you never got to find out. When they added that whole card camera, you could sort of play along at home.
Yes.
So I was traveling. I was a consultant. I spent a lot of time staying at a big hotel chain hotel in downtown Indianapolis.
Okay.
There were a bunch of other consultants from around the country who were there, and somebody said, let's play poker on Wednesday nights. The hotel thought we were pretty good customers since we were there all the time, and they gave us a suite on the main floor of the hotel, and they catered that suite, and we played poker every Wednesday night.
Wow.
At the same time, I was performing improv at I.O. Chicago, formerly Improv Olympic.
Okay.
And one of my teammates on my improv team bought me a book about poker. And I think that that first book was by a guy named Phil Gordon, who's been on TV a few times playing poker and hosting poker. And I realized I was doing it all wrong. I was playing the game wrong.
Wow.
And then I read 30, 35, 40 more books on poker because, as you know, I don't do anything small.
Right.
I started writing a blog. And playing poker all over the place. People started reading that blog. There was all of a sudden an audience for it, and I was talking in a forum online with hundreds of people who were readers of my blog.
Wow, that's great.
At one point I was out in Las Vegas, and I met Will Wheaton, who was a little bit of a hero of mine as a kid. He was in the movie Stand By Me as a kid, and he was Ensign Wesley Crusher on Star Trek The Next Generation.
Wow.
And I had occasion to have a conversation with him, and I introduced myself, and he said, I know who you are. And I said, it's very kind of you, but obviously you don't.
Be a
right?
different Jason Finn.
And he said, in your blog this morning, you wrote about how to play pocket jacks from under the gun.
Wow.
And my mind was blown. And then I was really hooked.
Yes.
And somebody introduced me to a guy who was producing a poker television show. That's how I got hired there. And it follows my sort of mantra of continual learning. I studied poker.
And following passion.
Yeah. And this week I have probably spent 2 hours studying the game that I've been playing for more than 20 years.
Wow.
Yeah.
Good for you.
One other quick anecdote.
Yeah.
10 years to the week after Chris Moneymaker won the main event of the World Series of Poker in 2003. So in 2013, I was hosting a tournament. I was hosting for the poker television show. Chris Moneymaker was at that event along with a handful of other names that you might have heard of, some Chicago folks, names that you would have heard of, who I was a fan of for years and then got to meet through this game of poker. Chris won that event 10 years to the week after he won the main event of the World Series of Poker, and I interviewed him as the champion of the event on TV, and that for me was really a full circle moment. That in that 10 years, that's what happened with me in the game of poker.
Amazing.
So that was kind of cool.
And you played actually in the World Series of Poker, right?
I have gone to the last 18, I think, consecutive World Series of Poker events. It is genuinely a series in the sense that it's a bunch of different tournaments. The one that I mentioned, the $10,000 buy-in, is what they call the main event.
Okay.
And that's a Texas Hold'em event. This year, I think they had 100 events, or maybe a few more than 100 events.
Okay.
So I go out there every summer. I used to go out for 10 or 12 days. Now it's tough to get out there for more than maybe 5 or 6 days because we've got to work. And every summer, I typically play in one event. And I am what we call a cash game specialist. So I play a lot less in the way of tournaments and a lot more of cash games, but it's a great time to be out there. But yes, I played this summer. I played in, I'm going to have to let everybody in on a dirty little secret. On June 16th of this year, I turned 50.
Ooh.
I know you can't believe it.
No,
Looking at me.
no.
You have to only be 50 years old to play in the seniors event at the World Series of Poker, which happened to be on my birthday.
Okay.
So it was meant to be. This year I played in the seniors event.
And how'd you do?
And I made it into the money. I cashed.
Wow.
Which is what happens for the World Series of Poker. It's basically the top 15% of the field makes it into the money. I probably didn't make it much further than there. I was short on chips. When we made it into the money, played maybe another hour or two, and then busted out of that event. But I doubled my money. And I got to say that my first seniors event was a success.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
And so which is just amazing, right? Like I said, we could spend a whole podcast on that. But you're bringing all of this strategy, networking, communication, holding cards to the vest, showing them when you need to, folding, holding, into the mortgage realm, aren't you?
It's yes. I like to think I am.
Yeah.
It's an incredible game that brings so many gifts with it.
Yes.
And you mentioned some of them. Knowing what to share and when to share it. Ultimately, a real estate transaction is a negotiation between buyer and seller.
Absolutely.
You have to be really cognizant of what is private information that's never going to be shared, and what's negotiation information that it won't be shared. Obviously, you always need to have your clients' permission to share anything anyway. But I'm able to turn around and give them some suggestion on what would be strategic to share at this time, what would not be strategic to share at this time.
Yes.
And I think the greatest gift that poker gives you is if you play 1,000 or 10,000, and at this point I don't know how many tens of thousands of hands I've played at poker, you know that that all you can do is quote unquote get your money in good.
Yes.
If you've got pocket aces at the start of a Texas Hold'em hand, and your opponent has pocket kings at the start of a Texas Hold'em hand, and you put all the money in the middle of the table, you've done so as an 81, 82% favorite to win all of that money. What does that mean? 18 or 19% of the time it's going to go horribly wrong.
Yes.
But you've done everything that you can do.
Yes.
And it's like that in life. You can do all of the right things. You can know that there is a very, very high likelihood you've done everything that this transaction is going to go perfectly.
Right.
And some percentage of the time you get bad luck.
Yes.
And so knowing how to react and respond to that bad luck, being able to have composure and hold it together, and in the case of mortgage and real estate, being able to advise others who they only play one hand of poker, as it were, every 7 to 10 to 12 years. They're only buying a house every decade, right? They're not doing it every day like we are.
Right.
And so being able to be a guide and something of a real estate Sherpa when things take a hard right turn,
Yes.
is I think really, really useful.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Okay, so also just recently you made it into the Key Mortgage Founders Club.
I did, yeah.
Yeah, that's amazing. There's only, I think, 3 mortgage consultants that are in that.
There's 3 of us so far.
Okay, 3 of you so far, so
Yeah.
congratulations to that. So this is not just all BS, like I hope Jason makes it in the mortgage business. This is, what you're seeing is not the end result, but the result of the culmination of all of your life experience, real estate knowledge, hard work in lending. So congratulations on that.
Thank you, Steve.
A lot of times people work with a guy like you, a VP of lending, and say, wow, he's got enough business already, or maybe he can't scale or anything like that. You have a lot more capacity, right, Jason? And how do you scale up so that people still get that personal touch, all your wisdom, and still are able to do a higher volume?
Yeah, there's a lot of hours in the day.
Sure.
And how much sleep do we really need?
Yes, exactly.
I have a great team around me.
Yes.
And I always want to be careful when I talk about my team, because they deserve a lot of credit and kudos for what they do and how skilled and capable they are, but to also let people know that they do get me.
Yes.
In the transaction. So when I'm doing pre-approvals, I have my assistant, my loan assistant, is a fully licensed practicing loan officer. He really doesn't originate business anymore. He supports me. But for many, many years, he was a client-facing loan originator. So he's capable of doing everything that I'm capable of doing.
Yes.
Even given that, when somebody says, I want a pre-approval, it's me, it's Jason that they talk to.
Yes.
We have a conversation. I want to understand what their timeline is, what their priorities are, and what their long-term plans are.
Sure.
Because I'm an advisor.
Yep.
And if I'm going to consult and if I'm going to diagnose, I've got to be able to evaluate first.
Absolutely.
And when they come back with a real estate contract, I don't want to say, hey, Jim, and Jim Huffman is my really talented assistant.
Yep.
Hey, Jim, what's this person all about? Why do we have a pre-approval for them? I want to
Yes.
say, oh, yeah, I remember Sue and Joe. and they're ready to go, and here's their situation, and they're probably going to be in this place for just 5 or 6 years, and then they want to turn it into an investment property and so on. And so I have the great benefit of having a really talented assistant, a really wonderful processor who's got years and years of experience, and an underwriting and an operations team behind me who I know is going to do a great job. But at the same time, I want to make sure that I've got that personal touch with my clients. I want them to know not only am I going to be with them through this process, but when they have a question about their first payment or their 12th payment or their 55th payment, then I'm going to be there to answer that. And that when they're reading all these headlines about mortgage rates coming down, number one, are they really coming down substantially, or is this just news and press that we're reading?
Yes.
Is that some marketing fluff? And number two, is it time for them to refinance or whatever the strategy might be to save some money on their monthly payment? Or for that matter, how much equity do they have in their home, and can they tap some of that to do some home repairs, to send their kids to school, or to invest in their next property? Exactly.
That's great. So Jason, there's an agent maybe watching this, eating their Fruit Loops at home, and they're saying, okay, how do I work with Jason? I haven't, well, what's the best way for them to reach out to you, and how do they begin working with you?
For sure. So number one, I would tell them, like I tell my kids, you should only have Fruit Loops every once in a while. They're not going to give you a lot of energy for the day. Number two, I would love to hear from them and talk to them. A great way for us to connect is certainly they can send me an email. My email address is a longer one. It's jason.finn, my last name Finn, at mykeymortgage.com. So I also got a shorter one that works, jason@jasonlens.com.
Okay.
So email is great. My handle on social media everywhere is Jason Lens, JASONLENDS. Or a phone call. And my phone number is on all of those places mentioned, my website, jasonlens.com. But I would love to hear from them, to have a conversation about whether we're a great personality fit, what they're looking for in a lender. I'm not everybody's cup of tea, but I think I do cast a pretty wide net, and I work with all sorts of different personalities. The next time we sit down on the therapy couch, I'll tell you about my childhood and all the personalities that brought me to where I am.
That's great.
But I would love to hear from agents who are excited to work together and to think about what sorts of things we could build together.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, Jason, I want to thank you for spending time with us, giving just a brief glimpse into your background, your history, what makes you such a great mortgage consultant and just a great person. So thank you for spending time with the People Not Titles podcast.
I really appreciate it. Thanks, Steve.
Hey, thanks for listening to the People Not Titles podcast. We are proudly sponsored by Land Trust Title Services. If you enjoyed the podcast, please hit the like button, please subscribe, and we'd love it if you'd share our podcast with your friends. Thanks a lot.